Are you surrendering to God? That is a question that I think every single Christian should be asking themselves in their everyday life, because oftentimes we are going about our lives doing whatever it is that we think we should be doing, or what our heart is telling us to do, or where other people are telling us to do. But today I have that question of, is what you're doing surrender? Are you surrendered to God? And what does it look like to actually be surrendered? So, welcome back to the episode of You, Me, and Jesus. We talk about all things living this life on earth. And today we're having a conversation all around surrender. And before I came on here, I decided to use AI, not ChatGPT. I'm using Claude AI, which is one of my favorite AI platforms. And I asked AI, what the question I asked was, what does it mean to surrender to God as a Christian? And I want to read to you what AI said, and then I want to tell you what I think. So I have not read what they said, but I'm just going to pull it up. Surrendering to God as a Christian is a profound spiritual concept that forms the foundation of the Christian faith journey. At its core, this surrender involves willingly relinquishing control of your life to God's guidance and purpose. Right? Here are the surrender typically encompasses several key aspects, and there's 5. 1, trusting God over your own daily submission, acknowledging dependence on God, obedience, and letting go of pride and self-sufficiency. Let me read that one out loud. Humbling yourself to recognize your need for God and guidance. Let me read the bottom of this. This says, many Christians find that surrender isn't a one-time decision, but an ongoing process, sometimes easy, sometimes challenging, that deepens their relationship with God over time. This biblical foundation for this concept appears in passages like Romans 12:1 and 2, Luke 9:2 and 3, and Proverbs 3 and 5, which speak to offering yourself to God and trusting his direction. Wow. So I agree that is what surrendering to God looks like. Now, as I was reading that, I felt convicted. Okay. As I was reading that, I felt convicted because remember, this is us and Jesus, you, me, and Jesus. And there have been times in my life where I am fully surrendered to God. And there's been times in my life when I am just in complete and utter control, or trying to take complete and utter control. And then other times I'm like with him and not, I'm like teetering, tottering, right? And so when I was reading that, I felt a conviction around areas of my life where I am just going my own way, doing my own thing, and not fully surrendering to him or inviting him into or asking him questions about with regards to what the things that I'm doing or want to do or whatever. And so when I wanted to talk about today, I thought about this topic because I don't think it's, what do I say? I think it's hard for us to surrender to God, but I think it's also easy for us to surrender to God. And it has its moments, like the back and forth moments. And so what do I mean by that? So when I thought about this episode, I said, why would a person surrender to God? Like just in a natural sense. One, because they don't know what to do. They don't know what they're doing and they don't know what to do. And if they believe that God knows what he's doing and has his best interests for the person or people, and they truly believe that if they surrender to him, that he will take care of everything, he will come through, then surrender is easy. But surrender could be hard if a person does not have a track record with God, meaning they are not used to praying and him doing something. They're not used to relinquishing control and just saying, God, I know you're going to take care of this. Just tell me what to do, and getting answers. That could be very hard, if a person doesn't have that kind of track record with God, right? I think it also can prove to be challenging if a person is in like a catastrophic situation, like something that's just sudden, it's just, everything is just going on. I think anybody would have moments when they're just like, whoa, I don't know what to do, my brain, right? Since I had my surgery, my brain has felt like it was slowly turning on and not completely turned on. And so I have these moments where I'm like, I can't even focus. And I've had months and months and months where I'm not even praying about my focus because I'm not even there. I'm just like, my brain is doing whatever it's doing, you know? And I had a moment where I was in church and they were talking about, you know, what's happened with a woman's body when she's going through menopause and all this stuff, and that we can have authority over that. And I was like, it kind of snapped me back and was like, hey, the rewiring of my brain, God can actually get everything up to par, right? And I don't have to just continue living this way where it doesn't feel like, well, I just kind of feel like all over the place. But God can and will if I come to him actually, and then invite him to help me versus only relying on medicine or only relying on my doctor or on myself, you know? And I was just like, okay, like I've got to be surrendering this to God and inviting him into helping me with this situation, you know? And then of course, when I went through my divorce, it was like, that was an easier surrender because I literally didn't know what to do. Nobody around me could help me. And I was like, I literally have to depend on God because there just isn't anybody else to help me, you know? And so I think that because I have had a relationship with God, that sometimes it's easier for me to surrender and then sometimes it's not. So when I think about the average person, I think that if you are going to choose to go down this road and learn how to trust in God's will of your life. I'm reading AI. Submit to him daily, acknowledge that the dependence on God, obedience, and letting go of pride and self-sufficiency. That if you're going to do those 5 things, you can't do them all at once. You just can't. That's a lot. Okay. Pride in and of itself is quite the 100,000 pound animal. You know what I mean? And then if you've always been dependent, it's like, it's easy to just fall back on depending on yourself because it's what you've always done. It's your pattern, you know? And so I think that you're going to have to start just one, like just choosing one thing. Like if you're going to go, okay, I'm going to submit to God daily. All right. If that's what we are going to do, then we get a moment where we go, okay, what does it look like that I can do on a daily basis to submit to God? Right? Not over everything, but over one thing. What does that look like? Well, it looks like in the mornings when I wake up that I actually spend time journaling, that I actually spend time talking to God, and I actually spend time listening. Easy thing to do for the day is talk to him, journal, pray, and actually listen. Okay, so that's first, right? Then the second thing I think a person can do over time is then whatever they hear him say, act on it. If he tells them to do something or stop doing something, act on it, right? And once you start seeing some type of like results or journey as a result of the action that you took that he told you, then you can go, okay, well, what else can I do? And you can ask him again, and then it can start to become little things that you can do, right? I'll give an example. I was having some issues with my scalp. My hair was falling out. It was just craziness what's going on. And I went to see a dermatologist. He like took a portion of my scalp, crazy, and was like, oh, you're dealing with some alopecia, yada, yada, yada. And this is normal in Black women. And I was like, well, it's not normal for me because I haven't had anything pulling at my hair for years. I haven't put much chemical in my hair for a long time. And I was just like, they want me to get injections, but I'm going to ask God about this. And so I submitted to God, and he was just like, well, first of all, you got to stop using this product. This product is making your hair fall out. Second of all, I want you to go down under your cabinet, and I want you to talk to me about all the products you have in your cabinet. And I will tell you what your scalp likes and what your scalp doesn't like. And I was like, this is kind of random, but I trust it. And so there was all these different products, and he was like, get rid of them. So then I tossed all these products, and then my scalp hasn't been itching or burning, right? So then there was a formula that I could use called Nutrafol to help restore my scalp, my hair. And I was like, should I get on that formula? He said, yes. And I was like, oh, yes. And I was like, okay. So then I got on it, right? And then it's been like 2 months, and I did a side-by-side comparison of the time before I went to the dermatologist to now, and you could see a remarkable difference of my hair starting to grow back. And people were asking me, well, what did you do? And I'm like, well, first I talked to God and asked him, and I stopped doing that. And they're all like, what? I'm like, the one person that could tell me the fastest is him. right? And then I told them about Nutrafol. But that was me trusting that I can hear him and trusting that he knows exactly what's going on with my scalp, right? And then being submitted enough to honor the all-knowing being that he is, but I had to trust that. And then I had to walk it out, right? And not use the products and just, use what is good for my hair. You know what I mean? Then I ended up doing like a sensitivity test. And one of the things I'm sensitive to is grapes, right? I like grapes, but I'm sensitive to grapes. And I was putting grapeseed oil all over my scalp. And I'm like, clearly, my scalp was just like, stop doing that. Okay. So that was me, like, just trusting the Lord. So what I'm saying here is, if the goal is to learn how to surrender to God, then you can't just go cold turkey. You can try, but it's always a lot harder to just go cold turkey. It's always a lot harder to change everything than changing one thing at a time, right? So like, I'm on a weight loss journey. I've been changing little things at a time. And now when I look at what I do on a daily basis, there's so many things that I do now that I wasn't doing 6 months ago that are so good for me. But I kept trying to do it all at once and it wasn't working. But now that I'm doing it little by little, it's working really well. I've lost 15 pounds and I'm still going and I feel really good. Okay. So again, what surrender looks like to God, ChatGPT, Claude, is trusting God over your own, trusting God's will over your own, daily submission, acknowledging dependence on God, obedience, and letting go of pride and self-sufficiency. Again, I'm not going to get into all of them on this episode. We're going to do a follow-up episode, but I want you to choose which one of these can you start with to start to trust God. Like, what can you literally start with? I think is going to be acknowledging dependence on God. And that looks like starting to pray and telling him what is going on with you. He already knows, but you're just allowing the relationship of you opening up to him so that he can begin to talk to you about what it is that you're telling him. Does that make sense? Because the one thing that I know without a shadow of a doubt is when I talk to him about everything, he always has something to say. He always has something to say. And it's always so profound, so comforting, and exactly what I need that I could not get from anywhere else or anyone else. Okay. So I hope that you found this valuable. I hope that something I have said here has the potential of assisting you with being able to surrender to God's will. Because I know that if you choose to do that, you will be amazed at what happens in your life and what happens in your relationship with God.